And we will wait just a few minutes until everybody settles in and everybody's pouring in and I can see the numbers going up. So we will start in few, maybe 1-2 minutes. Hello, everybody. Thank you for taking the time to be here today with us. And I would like to welcome you to Discovering Education Innovation in Qatar webinar event organized by HundrED and Qatar Foundation. My name is Ariana Panchakdarj, and I'm a research assistant at HundrED, and I'll be your host today with the help from Megan Hammond, who will be moderating today's event. So before I go on, I would like to introduce you the plan for today. So during the next 30 minutes, we will take you through the Spotlight on Qatar 2025, a joint project of HundrED and Qatar Foundation. This spotlight is launched as our two organizations continue our collaboration after a very successful run of the first project, Spotlight on Qatar 2020, between 2020 to 2023. Spotlights on Qatar aim to discover and promote scalable and impactful education innovations that can further enhance Qatar's educational landscape. So before I continue, there are few housekeeping items that I would like to go over. First of all, this webinar is being recorded and it will be published on our Spotlight page and also on a HundrED YouTube channel. So if you miss some parts of it, or if you would like to rewatch or share it with your friends or colleagues later, then you will always have an access to a recording. Also, if you have questions or comments at any point during the webinar, please feel free to drop them in the chat as we go along. We will have time to address your questions later in the webinar. We will also have a Megan in the chat to address any immediate issue you might be encountering. So before I introduce the speakers today to get the webinar going, maybe I can see there are like very many attendants, the participants attending today's event. So let's introduce ourselves in the chat. Maybe you can tell us where you're joining from and who you are so that we can get the webinar going. And are you a teacher? Are you an innovator? Are you a leader, school leader, or maybe a policymaker? We would love to know. So please write us a chat. Now, let me introduce you to our speakers and the interesting topics that they will be taking us through today. First, we will have HundrED's co-founder and executive director, Lasa Lebanimi, introducing the concept of HundrED Spotlight and the history of spotlights on Qatar. Following that, we will hear from Marian Hassan Al-Mahashri, Director of Partnerships at the Qatar Foundation's Pre-University Education Strategic Initiatives and Partnership Division, who will share with us why Qatar Foundation is embarking on this exploration journey in finding education innovations in Qatar. Then I, representing the research team at HundrED, will take you through the Spotlight on Qatar 2025 and what kind of innovations we're looking for and how can you take part in it. Finally, we will have Clara Lim, Deputy Director for Design and Interpretation of Dado, Children's Museum of Qatar, sharing with us why she submitted her innovation, Museum in Residence, to the first edition of the Spotlight in 2023 and her journey after the selection. Again, as a reminder, if you have any questions or comments for these speakers or for the HundrED or the Qatar Foundation team, just drop them off in the chat. We will address them after the speakers. Lasse Leponimi is co-founder and executive director of HundrED. HundrED is a Finnish mission-driven organization which seeks and shares inspiring innovations in education. HundrED selects pedagogically sound education innovations from around the world and helps them spread throughout their wide network of educators in over 100 countries. Mr. Leponimi is passionate about youth orientation, and he has worked in education and career planning since 2006. So he will share his remarks on this video.
My name is Lasse Leponiemi, and I'm the co-founder and executive director at HundrED. HundrED is a global mission-driven organization based in Helsinki, Finland. We identify impactful and scalable K-12 education innovations and help them spread with an active community in over 110 countries. HundrED was established to celebrate the wonderful work of hardworking educators who are driving innovative approaches in education. Our mission at HundrED is to give them the recognition and visibility they deserve. We believe that through identifying, amplifying, and facilitating the implementation of education innovations, we can transform education systems and equip students with the skills to thrive as global citizens. Because for us, the purpose of education is to help every child flourish in life, no matter what happens. We believe the best way to reach this mission is through education, and we acknowledge that education is always very contextual. We have to understand the culture, we have to understand the norms and values that drive that education system forward. Our 100 spotlights are small, focused collections of innovations within a team and a region. These spotlights explore innovations within the scope and gain deep insight on those education innovations to share with the world. It's our great pleasure to announce that we will carry out our second 100 Spotlight as a continuum to the Spotlight collection launched in 2023. In collaboration with Qatar Foundation and the Ministry of Education Qatar, we are on the lookout for another set of exciting, inspiring, and encouraging examples of how innovation can drive education in Qatari schools. What we hope to achieve with this joint effort is not only to select and celebrate the amazing innovators of Qatar, but to also showcase the education system and the schools of Qatar to the world. I hope you will be as excited and inspired to submit an innovation of your own and spread the word about this initiative as we are to embark on this journey again. I'm looking forward to meeting you in person in Doha next year when announce and celebrate the next most impactful and scalable educational innovations in Qatar in 2025.
Now, before we move on to hearing from Mrs. Mariam Ahsan Al-Hajri, we will watch a very short video to set the stage for the topic that she will take in talking about. So let's move on to a short, again, now to another short video, please.
A new chapter in education innovation is unfolding in Qatar. Qatar Foundation, in partnership with HundrED, is on the lookout for innovative practices that bring valuable improvements to education in Qatar. Are you a K-12 educator, innovator, or educational leadership official in Qatar? Submit your educational solution to the HundrED Spotlight. Your submission can include a solution that has the potential to be adopted by others in Qatar or is already actively expanding to other contexts. Your ideas have the power to inspire an entire generation and shape the future of education in a nation that stands at the forefront of academic and technological advancements.
Now, with this inspiring video, it is my pleasure to introduce you to Mariam Hassan Al-Hajri, Director of Partnership at Qatar Foundation's Pre-University Education, its Strategic Initiatives and Partnership Division, who will share with us where and why this all started and why Qatar Foundation is embarking on this exploration journey with discovering education innovations in Qatar. Mrs. Al-Hajri co-founded a pioneering Arabic website and led its IT operations for a decade. Later, awarded rights to establish a high-tech primary school, she served as its head for 7 years, achieving top school status in Qatar. As a principal of Qatar Academy Al-Waqra for 6 years, Mrs. Al-Hajri enhanced the bilingual program, developed a successful ethics curriculum, and integrated the national curriculum to IB middle years program. She designed a comprehensive computer science curriculum for grade 6 and onwards. In 2019, she launched Qatar's first progressive school, leading it until joining the Qatar Foundation's pre-university education team. In this role, she directs partnerships, managing initiatives for Arabic language, identity, ethics, and innovation projects. Welcome, Mrs. Al-Hajri. The floor is all yours.
Thank you, Ariana. Thank you to the HundrED team. And I would like to welcome everybody who's joined us for today's webinar. Thank you for your interest, and thank you for being an active participant in the education world. One of our mottos in our department is that education is everyone's responsibility. So we see education as something that goes beyond just schools. Of course, the classroom, the teacher in the classroom, the students is the core of the education process. But we also feel it is important to highlight that education is everyone's responsibility. In QF, we are focused on innovation. And we believe innovation is not a luxury. Innovation is a necessity in today's world with today's learners. We continuously have to be rethinking and reassessing to make sure we in the education world, we as educators, know exactly how our world is evolving, how the needs are changing of our learners, of our communities, so we can provide better and richer experiences to all the learners, either learners in the schools or we are all lifelong learners, and the learning process does not stop. The learning journey is a continuous one, is a very important one for our well-being and for our flourishing and for the flourishing of our communities. So that being said, that's why we focus in Qatar Foundation on, creating opportunities like Spotlight Qatar, working with global organizations, impactful global organizations like HundrED, to showcase and spotlight innovations from educators in schools, in different organizations, because we feel this will enrich our learners' engagement, enrich their learning journey, and enable them to be impactful in the future, impactful citizens in their community. This year, I think we are very focused on specific areas in this cycle. We're focused on enriching Arabic language and the education of the Arabic language, either as a language or as a medium of instruction, or as, Arabic language usage in general. This is a very important area of focus for us. The other very important and continuous area of focus for us is anything that will increase any innovation that is effective in increasing student engagement. I think we are very interested in showcasing and spotlighting such innovations. We also are focused on expanding our focus to not just be classrooms and students. Of course, as I said, this is the core of the education process of all the education innovations, but we also believe there are a lot of people enriching the education experience of the learners across the different age groups, beyond the classroom and beyond school. So we would love them to approach us, to apply to be part of the Spotlight Qatar so that we can showcase their innovations. I think you're muted, Ariana.
Thank you so much. I'm using an external mic, and I hope people are hearing me now better.
Yes.
Yes, that's great. Okay, thank you, Mariam, so much for your intake on Spotlight on Qatar 2025, and I will continue and also they talk about a little bit further on what the Spotlight on Qatar 2025 is and how you can take part and how you can also submit your innovations. So as Lassie explained in this video, 100 Spotlight is a research project that has a very specific theme, a specific focus on a theme or a region, and it is created with external foundation or organization. So the Spotlight on Qatar 2025 is a collaboration project between HundrED and Qatar Foundation, aiming to identify and promote impactful education innovations in Qatar. So we aim to, through the Spotlight, we aim to identify 10 to 15 impactful and scalable educations that would take the positive impact on the education innovations. The first question that often the innovators come up with is like, what's an innovation? And we also often tend to think of like something extraordinary, something very new and something big when we say innovation. But very simply put, the innovation is an idea that works. In other words, as a teacher, for example, if you had an idea and then if you implement it, and then if that idea helped to improve the learning experience for your students, and it is an idea that's worth sharing. That's what we are asking. Share that idea with us and share it with the world, share it with the Qatar education so that we can all together help every child to flourish. So we are, as Mariam very clearly indicated in his speech, we're interested in innovations that is coming from or that is being implemented in all schools in Qatar, public or private. It could be a community-based education programs, or it could be innovations that's coming from education projects created and conducted by the high school students or the university students. And the education, it could be taking place in formal, informal, or non-formal education settings. And again, we're specifically looking at the focus areas where the Arabic language and learning is promoted, and also the ideas and innovations that is aimed to enhance student engagements and participation and bring in a joy of learning. And also your innovation could be promoting the principle that education is the collective responsibility, therefore addressing to all the education stakeholders, or it could be a school-specific innovation. So the next question is how and who makes the selection for the Spotlight? So our very basic, the selection criteria or the selection, the things that we look at from the innovation are impact and scalability. So by impact, we mean that it is evaluated as a valuable improvement within the Qatari context. So if your innovation or if your idea brought the positive change for for your learners and for the education, then it is considered as an impactful innovation. And also, we ask all the innovations should have at least 1 year of being 1 year of implementation with its intended users. So by scalability, we mean that either the innovation is actively expanding to other contexts or has a high degree of potential to be transferred for the others to adopt in their own practice or in their own technological solutions. So in order to talk about who makes the final selection, I need to introduce you to advisory board, or the HundrED advisory board, which is very uniquely formed for each spotlight collection. So the members of the advisory board are independent volunteers who are selected based on their expertise, experiences, insights that's relevant to the spotlight theme or the region. So they're asked to review and evaluate the shortlisted innovations, and their evaluation carries a vital role in making the final selection, and it carries an important piece of information for the Qatar Foundation and for the HundrED research team when they're making their final selections. So we also highly encourage you to follow this QR code, and also the link will be provided in the chat to get more information on the HundrED advisory board, because this is also the place where you can take the part in the spotlight. And if this profile describes you, and if you have interest in taking a look at this, the inspiring innovations and that's happening in Qatar, please register your interest. And also, this submission to the spotlight is a very simple and straightforward process, and we have put together this document called submission guide. And it includes all the questions that in the submission flow for the innovations applying to this spotlight on Qatar 2025. It is often recommended to get acquainted with the submission flow a few days ahead, so that if you have any questions or if you need anything to clarify, you can always ask us, and you would have enough time to do so. And then also you can prepare ahead, so you can catch the deadline of April 15 this year. So the next question goes, why? And why apply? And what are the benefits for the innovators? So before getting into that, I would like to introduce you to our previous collection, Spotlight on Qatar, which was launched in January 2023. 10 innovations were selected for their impact and scalability in Qatar, and those innovations show the strong focus on STEM and EdTech with global and local perspectives, and addressing very important education issues, the global issues such as sustainability and promoting equity, creativity, and critical thinking of the learners. It was a great capture of innovative practices that's happening in Qatar. These innovations ranged from book club to school farm, and approaches ranged from self-led learning to assisted learning. In other words, again, the innovation is an idea that works. It could start from a simple idea, making a substantial and significant changes, and in bringing in impacts. So who can tell us better about why to apply and what happens when you apply and what happens when you select it than an innovator who got selected? So for that, we have invited Clara Lim, the Deputy Director for Design and Interpretation of Dadu Children's Museum of Qatar, to share her experience and expectations from the previous collection, The Spotlight on Qatar. Her innovation, Museum in Residence, was selected as one of the most impactful and scalable innovations of that time and was spotlighted in the previous collection that was launched in January 2023. Clara Lim, Deputy Director for Design and Interpretation of Dadu Children's Museum of Qatar, has oversight for the development of the museum's galleries and draws on years of experience centered on informal learning in Singapore, France, UK, and Qatar. She believes strongly in practice informed by audience research and underpinned by theory, but also constantly seeks to push boundaries. She is an advocate for a whole child development and currently training to be a forest school teacher. Clara is here representing the innovation from the previous collection, and she is again sharing her experience and expectations of that time. But before we give the floor to Clara, we're gonna have we're gonna take a look at in a short video that's about the innovation, the Museum in Residence, that was recorded in 2022.
So we're taking our museum out to schools. We're making ourselves residencies there in order to bring our practice of learning through play to schools. The one that we have set up today in Sherborne is our light atelier. We have others, including a more emotional kind of social-emotional learning space, exploring mindfulness. We also have others that look at robotics. But this specific light atelier, I think, has been to 3 schools so far, and this being the 4th school.
I tried to make shadows with the light, and tried to make a dinosaur fight by shadow. Well, it was all dark and a bit colourful, like it's a party.
Like a party?
Yeah.
So is it a room that you'd like to go to again?
Mm-hmm.
The fact that they're learning without even realising it, and that they're able to explore on their own, that they can take risks with their learning because they are in a very comfortable environment. So rather than telling them what they need to learn, they can find it out for themselves. And it's the practical learning. They're able to move around, they're learning actively rather than just being told something, they're exploring it for themselves.
So our 3 hopes behind the Museum in Residence is, number 1 is to contribute into the teacher development about our museum and the museum in residence. By adopting these approaches, they will be hopefully developing their own museum in residence and embracing it and making it part of their teaching approach by developing it, taking it to other schools, and even sharing it whether physically or as an idea. And finally is basically to get the community to evolve with us. Part of our development strategy is for the community to be engaged with us and to evolve with us.
This is such a lovely innovation. Thank you, Clara, for coming today to share your experience. So we're so happy to have you here. Welcome. The floor is all yours, Clara.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Well, thank you to Qatar Foundation, and thank you to HundrED for having us and supporting us through last year's application as well. Well, we were asked to speak about our intentions. Why did we decide to apply to begin with, and actually what we went on our journey and what did we gain. So in the background you see a light presentation. We put together some photographs from way back, almost I would say 5 years ago now, when we first started our prototype, how we developed the museum in residence, and actually where has it gone. But why did we first apply? So we first heard about the 100 Qatar Spotlight through a partnership that we're having with a Qatar Foundation school, Akademiati back then. And when we got to know about the motivations of 100, that was the first time we really got to know about 100, that it was to identify, to amplify, to facilitate this educational kind of innovations. Our entire team was on board. As a learning organizations ourselves, we're always looking to walk the talk. So we want to be an active participant in our ecosystem. We want to be educational innovators, but we also want to encourage educational innovation. And also, really very importantly, the Dadu Children's Museum of Qatar, the underpinning pedagogy for us, the underpinning child development theory is socio-constructivism. And we understand that we have to be part of this society. We develop knowledge, we have shared understanding as a society rather than standalone individuals. So with all these intentions at heart, we also wanted to have this recognition because we believe that this would help us really scale up our project and take it further. And so coming to that, did we achieve everything that we hoped we would have had? Well, to begin with, the application process was honestly straightforward and quite simple. The questions are succinct, they're to the point. The guide that was given to us really just made us think about making our case. But what was really interesting about this is, as practitioners, sometimes I think we're very guilty of going ahead and doing and not doing that whole reflection piece, that whole reflection kind of learning piece ourselves. This filling up of this form, this simple form, was really interesting because we had to sit down and we had to think, we had to reflect on the outcomes of what we had done. We had to document our impact, and we had to think, actually, where would we want to take this? So this push for reflective learning in itself was a gift from Qatar Foundation and 100, I would say. But perhaps, the most tangible gain, I would say, is that when we were announced that we were having the award, you'll see in the earlier pictures that they literally were lights, IKEA kind of furniture taped to walls, laid out on floors of different school classrooms and things like that. But when we actually gained the award, we were able to make a case to say we would like a formal set of exhibits that were constructed in such a way that they could be mobile, they could transfer. So you see in the picture right now, these are standalone units. They can be packed up, they've got their text panels on, it's no longer printed A4 bits of paper that we laminate and then we stick up onto the walls. But it has gone to, we were able to get through the award, the kind of validation that required the investment from our organization and others to go into it. Now, when we were informed about this video that was going to be coming, so we were able to invest in this set that had this legacy, one of the things that we were able to do was also then very quickly say, let's reflect on our learning experience of creating these, the museum in residence. So you see in this one, you can literally see the lights being taped to the wall, right? But we were able to again reflect on our learning and say, how are we going to innovate this into this set that we then want to take out to schools in a more formalized fashion? So this set that we created 2 years ago for the video that you have seen in Sherborne, this is still touring around in schools today. And across the last few years, it's reached 1,000 students or so. And at this very moment, it's in El Shahaniya, which is able to reach children far outside of Doha. It's been to Masaid, it's been to Semaisma, it's gone to places that we otherwise wouldn't typically be able to serve in our usual business as usual days. So almost a dozen schools and several thousands of children have actually engaged with the Museum of Residence since. Now, something else we gained other than the really lovely trophy that's on display in our offices is actually the video that 100 created for us. And the gift of this, I would say, is looking at the lens of someone else talking about yourself and your project. We know what we want to say. We say a lot of things ourselves, but actually, after we've said all these, for someone to distill it, to bring it down to the essence of it, of what they took away from us, what they thought was interesting enough to highlight, what they valued. And this was an extremely interesting learning point for us. Now, we've used this video to explain the project, and the fact that it contains voices others than our own has been actually fantastic. Now, if we could make a cheeky suggestion to the 100 organization who's here today, we would love an inclusion of a section where perhaps we would understand better why the judging panel had thought that the innovation was worthy of an award. what were some specific aspects about it that they would have seen. I think we would have loved that, both critical but also the kind of positive feedback. If I were to say, to balance things out, we talked about how we would have hoped this award would help us scale up. Now, at the award ceremony, it was great because we had the opportunity to present the project actually to the Minister of Education herself. But also we were able to meet other people who were really excited about educational innovation. The other 9 schools, the other 9 organizations that were there, with exchange contacts, with Meta. We haven't formalized any collaboration since, but we now know each other as the people who are really interested in education and also supporting children through our various lenses. But we were disappointed in one aspect, and to be very honest, at that point in time, and I'll put this back to the 100 team. Perhaps it was because of COVID, which none of us had anticipated and planned for. Was a lack of publicity and the awareness of what this award actually means. Now, this isn't so much an egocentric thing for the Dadu Children's Museum, but it stems from a more practical reason. We really hope that being bestowed such an award would support us in fundraising and being able to replicate this exhibit in order to multiply our reach. Now, unfortunately, we found that a lot of the sponsors, a lot of the industry did not have any awareness or understanding of the award. Schools, when we directed them to, saw it, and then they were on board and they understood what it was all about. But really going out to sponsors, going out to industry, it didn't quite work out for us. But in general, we believe that we've benefited greatly from our submission, and it's been an honor, and it was very worthwhile to be part of this community. And we hope we can continue to be part of this community, that we inspire each other to continuously innovate and improve our practice together. So I would encourage everyone to yes, please do apply.
Thank you, Clara. It's always inspiring to hear how you're impacting and how also your innovation is scaling, and it's such an inspiration. And also true, like our previous spotlight, which was launched in January 2023, actually started right before COVID, and then the COVID hit us, and it was a struggle, but we went ahead and we were able to identify the innovations, scalable and impactful innovations in Qatar. And also they were hoping that through all this the continuous collaborations and through the spotlights, this and also the next ones, we will bring the spotlights not only to the currently selected innovations, but also to all the innovations in the collection and all the innovations that were selected throughout the years. So thank you so much for all the speakers, and we have time for questions. And Megan brought one question. So can you apply for the advisory board and submit an innovation? And that's a very good question to ask. So advisory boards is asked to review shortlisted innovations. So we automatically notify you that if you're an innovator and applied to be a part of the advisory board, and then if your innovation is shortlisted, you will not be able to take part in the review process due to the conflict of interest. But other than that, we welcome our innovators actually to take part in the advisory board so that they can not only help us to review, and then the whole spotlight can benefit from their expertise, but also they get to look at the other inspiring innovations as well. And also, if you have any other the questions, please add them in the chat. We have a few more minutes to address them, but I also would like to mention something more on the submission flow. As Clara mentioned, that submission process itself is, as I've mentioned, that it's an easy and straightforward, but there are questions that kind of intrigue you to think about, why you, how you come up with this idea and innovation and why you're doing this. And so it adds in perspective. So application process, they just applying to this submission, the spotlight, and going through the submission process could also help you to kind of organize your thoughts on your innovation as well. So it's also has like just application itself could have a benefit on taking your innovation to the next level. Concerning the whole innovation, must it be a first-hand work? Innovation again, like it's an idea. Like if it is an idea that you adapted and then implemented in your own context and did the little tweak here and there to set it to your own the situation, then it is your innovation because you are setting it for your own context, because our contexts differ. It's they taken an innovation that works somewhere else. You cannot implement it, like you cannot just copy it directly, but you always have to do your own digestion. So we would also welcome it as an innovation. Right now, the minimum, there's a question, is there a minimum for the scalability that make the innovation acceptable? We actually have only one requirement, that is like we ask your innovation to have an implementation of 1 year to its directed the groups, intended users. So that's the only the minimum requirement that we ask for. The scalability, as long as it has the potential for the scalability, then it has the potential for somebody else to adapt and use their own context for a further impact, then we consider that as a potentially scalable innovation. I couldn't hear you. Well, I'm sorry. So, yes, for the innovations to be considered, we ask your innovation to be implemented for at least a year for its intended users, and that's the only minimum requirement that we have for the submission. And when is the deadline of the innovation submission? It is April 15, 2024. That's a little bit over a month ahead. So again, I remind you, like, please take a look at our submission flow. It is a good time to look at it so you can go over the questions, familiarize yourself with the questions, think about it, and then and clarify. You can always contact us and for further clarifications or the questions, or you can even request for an assistance. We would be happy to guide you through the process. And so our time is up, and if there's any the more questions that we weren't able to address, we will make sure that we answer them and then put it on our spotlight page. And also, if you go to the spotlight page, the submission guide, there are many answers to many potential questions. So thank you so much. So this now brings us to the end of our Discovering Education Innovation in Qatar event. I hope you discovered much about the education innovations and how to take part in the spotlight and what we are looking for through this spotlight. And I would like to thank everybody for their time and attendance today, for this active participation. And I would like to thank everybody for their questions and thank you so much for contributing and the big thank you and biggest appreciation goes also to our speakers. We will publish the recordings of this webinar on our Spotlight page and also on HundrED YouTube channel. So if you missed some part, or if you would like to rewatch, or if you would like to share it with others, again, you will always have an access. And remember to submit your innovations for the Spotlight in Qatar on Qatar 2025 by the April 15, April 2024. And April 15 is also the deadline for applying, registering your interest for the advisory board as well. We will send you all the relevant links that is related to the Spotlight, so you can check them out and get further information. Again, if you have any further questions or clarifications, we are open to assist you in any ways we can. Thank you so much.